There once were two sisters who lived at the edge of the forest in the shadow of Mount Fuji. Their names were Yasuko and Tsukoshi, and they were very poor. Now Yasuko was a kind, gentle woman, and she spent her days gathering wood in the forest to sell. Tsukoshi, on the other hand, was sharp-tongued and ill-natured. But she kept their house very clean, and she made delicious food with only the most meager ingredients. Now one morning, Yasuko set off through the forest as usual. The birds kept her company along the path. They flew from branch to branch and waited for her to scatter the millet grains that she always kept for them in a little pouch. As she was walking, she heard a plaintive cry above the sound of the other birds. It seemed to come from a small bush. She parted the branches, and there on the ground was a little sparrow with a broken wing. Gently she picked up the sparrow and tucked it into the sash of her kimono. And when she went home, she showed it to her sister. "Look, Tsukoshi, here is a little sparrow. I will take care of it." But Tsukoshi was not happy. "Not another mouth to feed. We barely have enough food for ourselves." "Oh, it's just a little one, Tsukoshi." Yasuko put the sparrow in a straw pallet in the corner of the house, and day after day, she fed it soft grains of millet. And by the time the first snows of winter came, it was well and strong. It hopped all around the sisters' little house, and every night it would perch on the thatched roof and wait for Yasuko to come back from the forest. When she emerged from the darkening trees, it set up a glad, welcoming song, and it flew around and around her head, and then it would perch on her shoulders and pour its twitterings into her ear. Yasuko loved her little pet, and she called it, "My dear little Junko." Tsukoshi, on the other hand, had no use for the little creature. She would chase it with a broom and say, "Stop that singing, you irritating thing! Stop it, always eating what little food we have for ourselves. Oh, get away!" One morning, in late spring, Tsukoshi unpacked their best kimonos in order to soak them in rice paste and give them a fine, glossy sheen. She always saved just enough of their precious rice flour for this ritual to celebrate the coming of spring. Yasuko prepared to go into the forest as usual. "Take good care of little Chunko, Tsukoshi, and you make sure you give it something to eat." "That bird will eat us out of house and home." Yasuko left, and Tsukoshi dragged the heavy wooden wash tubs outside, leaving the bowl of rice paste on the veranda. She began the long task of steeping and rubbing and steeping and rubbing the kimonos. And hours went by. Little Chunko was getting very hungry and singing its best to win Tsukoshi's heart, and of course, some millet grains. "Oh, stop that singing, you useless little creature. I'm not giving you any of our food. Just shut up." Poor Chunko was very hungry by this time, and it flew onto the veranda and landed on the bowl of rice paste. The rice looked delicious. It smelled delicious. And in no time at all, Chunko had eaten every bit of the rice paste. Well, when Tsukoshi came onto the veranda carrying the dripping kimonos, and she saw the empty bowl, her whole body began to shake with anger. "You greedy, grasping little scavenger! You've done it now! I'm gonna stop that pretty little song of yours for good! Do you hear me? For good!" She took a scissors out of her pocket, and then she grabbed Chunko, forced open its beak and slit its tongue, and then she threw it to the ground. The little bird's wings turned and churned in the dust. It was in agony, but no cry could escape its throat, and finally, struggling and fluttering, it flew away and disappeared into the forest. When Yasuko returned home, she was surprised not to hear her usual welcoming song. "Tsukoshi, where is little Chunko?" "That bird ate every bit of our rice paste, so I slit its tongue and drove it away." "Tsukoshi, how could you do such a cruel and wicked thing? Where is it?" "I don't know and I don't care. The farther the better, and good riddance." "Tsukoshi, you will be punished for this evil indeed. I will find little Chunko. The next morning, Yasuko went out into the forest. She searched everywhere. She called, "Little Chunko! My tongue-cut sparrow, my friend, where are you?" She searched all morning and all afternoon. But she heard nothing, only the twittering of the other birds, the croaking of the frogs, and the cries of the cranes overhead. Finally, exhausted, she sat down underneath a tree. Now, in the branches of the tree there were some other sparrows, and they were deeply moved by Yasuko's grief. One of them fluttered down and landed on her shoulder. "Yasuko-san! Yasuko-san! We know your Chunko and where it lives. Come, follow us!" Yasuko followed the sparrows until they came to a little clearing where there was a small house surrounded by bamboo saplings. A whole flock of sparrows came out of the house and gathered all around her. And then they bowed so low their beaks touched the ground. They showed her inside to a room of shining cedar wood, where she politely removed her clogs and entered in her cloth socks. And then they drew aside a little embroidered screen, and there was little Chunko surrounded by a flock of attendants. "Oh, my Chunko, my friend, how are you? I have come to apologize for the wickedness of my sister. Your tongue, is it healed?" Chunko flew up and landed on her shoulder. "Oh, Yasuko-san, yes, my tongue is healed. And now I would like you to meet my parents." The parents of little Chunko bowed low before Yasuko. "Our gift to you, our debt to you, can never be repaid." A great feast was prepared, and Yasuko was treated as an honored guest. She was lost in wonder at the beauty and delicacy of the table. The chopsticks were of pure ivory. The soup bowls were of gilded lacquer. And after dinner, a troop of gaily kimonoed sparrows came in and danced to the music of the koto. Yasuko had never known that life could be so gracious and so good. But finally, she thanked her honorable hosts. "I must return to my sister. She will be very worried about me." "Before you go," said Chunko's father, "we would like to give you a gift." Two baskets were brought before Yasuko. One is large and heavy, the other small and light. Choose whichever you wish. "I must humbly accept the smaller basket." Chunko helped her put the basket on her back, helped her put her clogs on, and she hurried home, waving goodbye to all her new friends. But when she got back to the house, she found Tsukoshi angry as a November storm. "Where have you been, you stupid sister? Always leaving me to do all the work. And what is that on your back?" "It's a gift from the parents of little Chunko." "Well, what's in it?" I don't know." "Well, you stupid sister, let's open it up." Tsukoshi tore off the lid. Inside were two beautiful silk kimonos and heaps of coral and jade jewelry dazzling brighter than the eyes of lovers. "We're rich! We're rich!" But later, when Tsukoshi heard the whole story and found out that Yasuko could have chosen the larger basket, she was angry all over again. "Do you mean to tell me you..." House surrounded by bamboo saplings, and all the sparrows came out and stood in a circle around her and stared at her coldly. "Hello? Hello, I've come to see my friend, Chunko?" She rushed into the house, not even bothering to take off her clogs. The sparrows were astonished because this was insolent discourtesy. And when Chunko saw Tsukoshi, it flew up to the rafters in terror. Its parents stared at her coldly. "May we offer you some refreshment?"
Oh, no thank you. And please, don't bother to dance for me either, but I'd certainly love a little souvenir of my visit.
2 baskets were brought before Sukoshi. One is large and heavy, the other small and light. Choose whichever you wish. "Oh, I'll take the big one," said Sukoshi. She hauled the basket onto her back, and without even saying thank you or goodbye, she raced out into the forest. And when she got out of sight of the sparrow's house, she tore open the lid. But there was no treasure inside. Instead, hordes of demons and monsters came pouring out of the basket. Spikes shot from their heads. Spikes shot from their chests. Blood dripped from their eyes. And their arms writhed and coiled all around Sukoshi. Evil, grasping, greedy, wicked woman. Bite her, puncture her, torture her until she dies. Sukoshi took off through the forest with all the demons and men pursued behind her. Bite her, puncture her, nibble her, torture her until she dies. Just at that moment, the sun began to set in rows of gold, and a beam of light shot through the trees. And when it touched the demons, they moaned, "Ah!" and they groaned, and they melted away into the darkness of the forest. When Sukoshi returned home, her sister was astonished at her appearance. "Sukoshi, what happened to you?" "All of my life I have been a greedy, wicked woman. I've been taught a lesson and given a punishment that I deserve, but I am going to change. You will see. I will be a better person and a better sister to you, my dear Yasuko." Sukoshi was true to her word. From that day onward, no harsh word ever again escaped her lips. The 2 sisters lived for many years, with frequent visits from their dear friends, the sparrows. And long after Yasuko and Sukoshi had died, the sparrows commemorated their story with a song. If you listen very closely, you can still hear them singing it to their children.